Next on Relevant Radio, your favorite weekly appointment. It's time for the Nazareth Project. Faith, marriage, and family talk for the everyday Catholic. With your host, Lydia Lococo.
Good morning, Archdiocese of Milwaukee. Welcome to the Nazareth Project. Faith, marriage, and family talk for the everyday Catholic. I'm your host, Lydia Lococo. What's on your mind today? I don't know what's on my mind today. I've been thinking a little bit, and you'll see why in just a few minutes, about evangelization. I feel like my host chats are a little too faith-filled, but it's what's on my mind. And I really have been thinking about how we evangelize and how the average person gets that gospel message out in a way that your next door neighbor or the person across the street or down the school or at work, in a way they can understand. So I want to talk to you about your evangelization, not the Archdiocese evangelization. Ain't my job. It's your job. So I'm going to ask you a few little questions, and it's going to direct our conversation. So this is directly right at you driving the car or washing your dishes. What series of little decisions, what little tributary did you take to end up in the spot you're in right now? This is where we're going to lead. Did I intentionally want to be here, or I've just kind of ended up here in a mysterious way? What does that tell you when you ask, why am I here? You're really asking, what I talk about every single show. Does God have a particular plan for my life? Or is he just the big watchmaker who wound it all up and stepped back? Because, what I always say, either none of it matters or every single thing matters. So does God have a plan that involves bringing particular people even into my life on a daily basis? And if he does have a plan, and I am here for a reason, and if I say here, it might mean raising rebellious teenagers, sitting in loneliness. It might mean taking care of aging parents. It might mean going to a chemotherapy appointment. It might mean, as a millennial and a Catholic, not understanding how you fit in the world. It might be working to stay in a really difficult marriage. Whatever here means for you, if God does have a plan for my life and I'm here for a reason, then what is my response to him and how am I to live? If people can't tell that we're followers of Jesus Christ, then why should they follow him? We look at these lives of the saints. You read you take your Magnificat and you turn page after page of absolutely heroic lives. Some of them, grandiose, but some of them the daily grind, and many oftentimes martyrdom. Don't you ask yourself the same thing I do at night when you're doing your evening prayer? Would that be me? Do I have that conviction? Do I really believe in the reality of an eternal soul? Be honest. Do I really believe that people have an eternal soul and that there's a judgment and that there's either heaven or hell? Do I believe in the judgment? And if I do, would I have the courage to die for my faith like these people I read about? If not, then what are we doing? Why do I have this radio show? What's it all about? Why are you going to a prayer circle? What the heck is Catholic education about? Why are we embarking on this adventure anyway? And when we think about evangelization, it's going to hit you right between the eyes. You and I both know it. And here's the problem. You've probably heard me say this before. If you want to hire a math teacher and a murderer applies for the job and you hire him, he's going to teach a little murder in with his math. You don't only evangelize what you know or what's in a book. You evangelize who you are. And that is the overwhelming realization. Who you are flows from that deep and quiet place within you, where at some point in your life, you've made some kind of act of divine faith where you accept that truth about God. And I can tell you something, it only comes in silence. We can't find any shortcuts. No one's exempt. The church has a great Latin phrase, and my spoken Latin is not super, but I'll do my best. Nemo potest dare quod non habet. How about that? Nemo potest dare quod non habet. You cannot give what you do not have. And that is the frightening truth that comes to every mother who looks down into the eyes of eternity, sitting in that hospital bed, holding that baby. It comes to the new teacher who walks in the classroom, comes to the priest at the pulpit, comes to the principal in the office, and it comes to everybody who has an ounce of self-reflection. To spread the gospel is to lead and to really lead. And it's that servant leadership to which we're all called. We see it modeled with Pope Francis, don't we? But to have it is to give from the abundance of your heart, to give what he will give to you as you grow in that life of grace. So the only way that you can give to your boyfriend what your spouse, what your children, what your students need, what the world needs, is to find a way to obtain that abundance of divine truth. The world desperately needs it, and no one can give this to you. You have to desire it. You have to hunger for the truth, and the truth is Jesus Christ. He gave us a church, and I read this over and over. He promised he would not leave us orphan. I whine to Jesus Christ. Did you know that? I whine. You promised. Just as he promised that he would always send workers for the vineyard. We have to trust in his promises, right? So our lives become a journey and a relationship with him as we hunger after that truth. We have to absorb it, penetrate it, make it our own, like breathing in and breathing out. And if we don't have the virtues that we want to have, then we have to go out into the world and acquire them. Any virtue, like any good Thomist would tell you, any student of Thomas Aquinas, virtue is nothing but habits, small, everyday, concrete habits that if you do them over and over, like water on a rock, will become second nature. So if you want to lead like Jesus, and if you want to teach like Jesus, then we have to know and become Jesus. And if you aren't formed, then we're just going to have to figure out a way to become formed. One good habit at a time. It takes work, and it takes intentionality, and it takes the humility to say, wow, my parents really dropped the ball on my generation, and I just didn't get the formation I need, and I'm embarrassed because my kids know more about the faith than I do. And you know what I say to that? So what? So what? There's a million things all of us don't know. I'm constantly trying to learn prayers that I should have learned a long time ago, and I'm trying to memorize them at night, and I'm old, and I have no memory left, but I try every night. So the St. Michael the Archangel prayer is what I'm working on right now. Of course there's things we don't know. I heard Bishop Don the other day saying, sustaining the mission talk, that he just can't get down the new creed. And then he has to run for the book. He was great. He was talking to these young teachers. You could see their shoulders just relax. Okay, it's not on you. We're all students, right? So I'm going to give you a challenge, and that's to be a follower of Jesus Christ and to be a servant leader to others. And to tell you that to do that, we have to keep our eyes and hearts on him. And that means nemo potestare quod non habet. You cannot give what you do not have. He's our ideal. His life was completely God-centered. No big deal, right? Easy. He was completely and consistently focused on doing the will of his Father, and it's obviously the Lord's will that you are where you are, the here where you are. You probably won't be asked to be for the bloody martyrdom that we read about in Magnificat, but there's something in the Catholic Church called a white martyrdom, and gosh knows many of our marriages qualify for that. Mine does every single Sunday when the Packers play. So perhaps we can never be as focused and selfless as Jesus was, but we can continually move closer to the ideal that he gave us. And to do that, we have to refocus, recalibrate, and recommit ourselves on a daily basis. Think small, concrete habits. We're going to take a break right now. And when we come back, I'm going to be chatting with a person who accepts this challenge and doesn't look for any excuses. Dominic Albano is on the staff of St. Monica's Parish in Whitefish Bay, but you might know him better as part of the team called Arise. I want you to meet him and let him be a witness to you. You're listening to the Nazareth Project on Relevant Radio, and we'll be right back.
In today's car buying marketplace, the difference is the people inside the dealership. Uptown Motors sets the bar in customer service. Here's Uptown Motors' third-generation operator, John Pintler. John, tell us about Uptown.
The cool thing about Uptown is we've served Milwaukee and the Wauwatosa community for 67 years at this point. And we're a firm believer that business and customers can get along and do things in a mutual way here. And what's good for our customers is good for our dealership. And what we really thrive on is having people come back time and time again. A lot of our customers are people I've grown up around. I started out as a lot attendant. I was washing people's cars. I would drive them home when they were here for service. Then I started selling cars and got to work with these people. And now I'm in a position where I get to help structure deals where we find the way to make the payments and the car all come together. And these people really become family.
Buy a new or used car from Uptown and they'll donate $200 to the parish of your choice. This is not a gimmick. It's who they are. Stop in and see what customer service is all about. Uptown Motors, Catholic owned, Catholic proud. RelevantRadio.com, keyword Uptown.
We're back with the Nazareth Project on Relevant Radio. Here's your host, Lydia Lococo.
Welcome back to the Nazareth Project, Faith, Marriage, and Family Talk for the Everyday Catholic. This is Lydia Lococo, your host. And like I mentioned before the commercial, this November marks a major event, I think, for the whole Archdiocese, but certainly for young adults in the Archdiocese of Milwaukee. We are going to host Steubenville's Encounter Young Adult Conference. It's coming to Milwaukee Saturday, November 8th. Mark your calendars, everybody. And if you aren't planning on going right now, you're going to change your mind after hearing from my guest today, Dominic Albano. How do you like that intro?
Oh, that's pretty good. That's a lot to live up to.
Well, get started. Dominic is, if you don't know Dominic, you need to. I didn't know him, and I made an effort to get to know him. He is the executive director of Arise Missions.
Yep.
But sneaky Father Jerry Herta, who just won the Vatican II award, and we're so proud of him and grateful to him for all he's done, very carefully, I think, recruited Dominic to be the new director of adult formation at St. Monica's Parish in Whitefish Bay. Is that correct?
That's right. St. Monica's and St. Eugene.
Oh, St. Monica's and St. Eugene's.
Yeah.
So you have nothing to do every day.
I know, right? I just twiddle my thumbs.
I mean, 2 parishes and Arise Missions. Hey, no problem.
Yeah, we might as well throw a huge conference on top of it. Why not?
I think so. And you're also, in the meantime, and this is kind of important, said the marriage and family person, married to your high school sweetheart.
I am, yeah.
What's her name?
Rebecca.
And Rebecca is studying?
Yes. So Rebecca's getting her PhD in neuroscience.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have 2 little ones. We have a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old. So, yeah, things are a little crazy at the Albano household. It's a little nuts, but we love it that way.
Yeah, no kidding. It's when you're serving the Lord and it's your passion, it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, I always tell people I think what God's trying to tell me is that if I'm left at all to my own devices, I'll just screw everything up. So he just keeps me as busy as possible.
Walk here, turn left.
Right.
Well, we, these interviews aren't very long, and this is important information. So this is content, people. If you're driving, I don't want you wrecking, but you need to make some notes. So Encounter is officially less than 1 month away.
Yep.
Tell me, in your own words, what we can expect that day.
Well, the Encounter Conference, it is a Steubenville conference. And so there's certain things that you know you're going to get from a Steubenville conference. You know it's going to be very orthodox. It's going to be very centered on the Eucharist and really focused on the sacraments. But at the same time, it's going to be very dynamic and engaging. And the bottom line is these conferences produce conversion. And there's no whether whether you like praise and worship music or you like the more traditional or wherever you are at, you cannot deny the fact that these conferences produce conversion. In 2013, a CARA study, which is the Center for Applied Research in the Apostolate, said that 13% of all priests ordained in 2013 cited a Steubenville conference as being a major turning point in their discernment to enter into seminary. So, I mean, that fact alone,
there
which is
you
independent
go.
research, I mean, it's producing vocations. What more could you want?
You get a CARA study behind you, people start listening.
That's right.
Why would a young adult want to go?
Why wouldn't a young adult want to go? They call this Encounter for a reason, and it says on our poster, "What does your heart want?" We encounter. I meet a lot of young adults in my work, and so often, especially the ones who are not, involved in church, there's just this deep longing and desire that really Christ is placed at the center of our hearts. But we don't know what we want, and we're searching for just something to fill this void. This conference is all about answering that. This is what your heart wants. This is what you desire, is this encounter with the Lord. And Pope Francis says, in the Evangelii Gaudium, I invite all Christians to a renewed encounter. So it's not just a conference for people who are fallen away or unchurched or they don't know what that is, but even those who can say, hey, I've encountered God's love, I work for the church, I'm a youth minister, whatever, they too, like Pope Francis, has invited them to that renewed encounter. So this conference is really for everyone across the board.
I'm not. I just was talking with Father Luke at a different radio taping, and before I asked him how many seminarians, I said, I'm not kidding when I say it's not about numbers. It isn't about numbers, because if one person comes to Jesus Christ, shut the door. That was
Amen.
a good day.
Yeah.
But I am very interested to give hope to people and to encourage them in their faith life in the Archdiocese of Milwaukee. Do you have a good turnout? How many people are coming, do you think?
It's looking so good, and you're right. It's not about numbers, but so often we can point to something like numbers and just say, totally in spite of us, look at how God is accomplishing His will. And right now, on this day,
and we're a month out.
we're 40 days out right now, and we have 300 registered, and every single one of those is individuals. And so I was just telling someone before here that we're expecting more than half of our registrations to be from groups, and none of the college campus ministries, none of the diocese groups will register until the last minute. And I know for a fact that we have 50 people coming from the UP and 50 people coming from Northern Illinois University. And,
sure.
It's
we're gonna be busting at the seams here.
I'm praying that we will have enough seats for everybody, because I'm not turning anyone away.
No
If they show up, we'll just place somebody like against the wall or something.
I want literal date, time, place, every detail, and then I want you to tell me who's speaking.
Sure. So Saturday, November 8th, the doors will open at 9 a.m. Everything kind of kicks off at 10 a.m. It'll be done by 10 p.m. Then we're going to go to the bar. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but we will.
Of course you are. The first miracle of Jesus was water and wine.
That's right. It's a great thing when you're doing a young adult conference, not a youth conference, for that reason. But no, so 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., and we have a great speaking team lined up. We have Annie Hickman's the host, so he'll serve as the MC throughout the day, and he'll be giving breakout sessions. Paul George is our second major speaker. Father Luke Strand, who's our very own vocations director, as most of you listening will know, is also on the speaking team, as well as a member of our Arise Missions, and Pete Birds will also be on the speaking team. Worship throughout the day will be led by the Arise Missions Band, which is really cool because they never usually let local people do the music for these conferences, but Paul Vogrens will be leading worship, which we're really excited about.
And what's the location?
At the Archbishop Catholic Cousins Catholic Center.
Which is located where?
Which is located right here in St. Francis.
On Lake Drive. South Lake Drive, right?
South Lake Drive.
Right next door to the seminary.
Right. And our last speaker, we have one more speaker, is Sarah Swofford, who's really awesome. She works for the Chastity Project, which is Jason Everett's chastity website, and writes for them and does national speaking. She's really incredible. So
I know the Archbishop is going to come in and make an appearance and say hello to everybody. If you've never been to the Cousin Center, it's a great facility because it's a big facility. Like, there's tons of parking. The hallways are big. The auditorium holds 700. It's just a nice place. It's a conference center.
Yeah,
so
it's perfect.
It's perfect. It's
perfect for a day like this, especially where, in November it's really big and cavernous, and so if it's cold, you're not even gonna have to ever step foot outside. But as it can be in Milwaukee in November, it could be like 55 degrees and super nice. And during our kind of free times and breakout sessions and lunch, you got the lake right across the street, and it's gonna be really great.
Now, I want to be sure, who are we targeting? Give me the exact ages, because here's what you're going to get, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, can't my high schooler come?
No.
Okay, let me do another one. I know we're 45 years old and married with 3 kids, but we need to grow in our faith life too.
You certainly do, just not this day.
Okay. So
or at least not at this place.
This day, this time, Encounter is for whom?
Encounter is for anyone specifically aged 18, out of high school, graduated high school 18, to 39. So 20s and 30s are the real target range, college students especially. The conference, we really want to cast a wide net. So, we're not looking to just turn people away. But at the same time, we do want to keep to a pretty strict demographic, because if you're a 19-year-old college girl and all of a sudden, someone sits down who's not necessarily a young adult or falls in that definition next to you, it's going to be a very different experience. So
I want to add, just as somebody who's worked for the Archdiocese, We are very serious about safeguarding all God's children and safe environment. And I know you get these phone calls and people try to wheedle in, and they're so good-hearted. But what you don't realize is we absolutely just can't have minors at an event like this. So
Absolutely.
no phone calls. You have to be 18 or older.
18 or older, graduated from high school. We really prefer if you're in college for a year, but that's all fine. And this you ask, like, who is this for beyond just age? It really is, for anyone. You think of your niece or nephew or your son or daughter if you're not a young adult, or if you are a young adult, obviously yourself, but also your coworker or your sibling or your friend or your neighbor. I mean, I think we all could right now think of like one person in our heads that we need to be, get to this conference.
And to take your own faith seriously, that means, I personally would love to have a cult of private purity, have my own little beautiful prayer cards and my own little beautiful mass and my own little private little world.
Right.
Gosh darn it, there's a mission.
Yeah.
And it was given by Jesus Christ, and it says we have to actually go out and care about other people and bring them to the Lord. Darn.
I know, right?
So, because then it gets messy.
It does.
You can't keep it as clean then.
It does.
Because people, you have to love them, and they're never like you want them to be.
Yeah.
So we have to, just like we have to bring people to Mass and confession, we have to this is a great opportunity to bring people. You're not bringing them to church. Somebody who maybe has been away from the church, this would be super. I want to know specifics again. Speak clearly. If I want to register for Encounter, what do I do?
Go to arisemissions.org.
Spell it out.
ARISEMISSIONS.org. Right at the top. Right when you go onto the website, the biggest first letters you see, Encounter Conference, and there's a button for registering. It's super easy. It's right online.
And how much is it?
It's $45 per person for the day. If you have a group of 10 or more, then it's $40. And if you register as a married couple, that's $80.
Okay. The little thread that weaves through this, and we're finishing up our interview, unfortunately, because I could talk to you all darn day, is Arise.
Yeah.
And I know you can't make this quick, but I have two questions. I want to know how Arise got started, but I also want to know, for people listening, if they want to get involved in the Archdiocese and they're young and they really have gone to an Arise and they loved it and I want to get involved.
Yeah.
Tell me how it started and what they can do.
So, being as quick as possible, the reason Arise started is because there was a particular desire that God placed on a couple people's hearts, and they decided to actually do something about it. Get empowered. Being a missionary disciple means if you see something you want and it's not happening, don't wait for someone else to do it. Just do it. Arise was never meant to be an organization. We were never meant to have a conference. It was a couple of people making a very simple yes, that it became very clear that God had bigger plans for, and that's how we ended up where we are today. And I would say for any young adult, you say, man, I wish there was more for young adults to do something, create something, I promise you will find people to partner with. You will find people who want to work with you. You'll find parishes that want to support you. And it doesn't matter what it is, because there will be other people who want to pray that way, or who want to learn about that, or who want to do what you're doing. So just be empowered and do.
Well, I want to give a little shout out to a person who's very under the radar on this Encounter event, and it's Bishop Don Hine.
Absolutely.
Because I was sitting in my office when I was director of the Nazareth Project, because young adult, which doesn't really belong in Nazareth, and hopefully we deserve a young adult office, and we're going to get there. But I know personally that Bishop Don was the one who said, come on over, do it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, he's not even going to be here, so I could, every time I want to say, are you kidding me? Thanks a lot, Bishop Don.
I know.
But you know what? He tells everybody to jump out of the boat.
Yep.
And I have to give him credit where credit is due. He jumps out of the boat.
Absolutely.
So thank you to Bishop Don. He'll never hear this, but thank you to him for saying yes to you.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you to you. And I'm so thrilled that you're also working at a parish, because we want to keep and grow and make them just these powerhouses for people to come and grow the church.
You know, Arise, I believe, and Arise believes strong church is made of strong parishes. We have to continually renew parish life, and I'm very happy where I'm at.
Well, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to pray for Encounter,
Please
and
do.
I told him I'm going to sell it like a bar of soap. I'm just going to be a nag to people, and because I think it's the best thing coming around the bend. We're so excited. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, and if you're not a young adult and you're listening to this, get the young adult in your life, get them there.
There you go. I want to remind you to visit thenazarethproject.com. You can hear details of our talk with Dominic if you missed didn't have time, or you're driving a car and you didn't have your pencil handy. You can go to thenazarethproject.com, register right now for the Encounter Young Adult Conference at Arise Missions with an S.org. We're going to take a break. When we come back, it'll be time for our mailbag. We'll dig deep, see what you've emailed, and our community bulletin board, what's coming up in the Archdiocese. You're listening to the Nazareth Project on Relevant Radio.
In today's car buying marketplace, the difference is the people inside the dealership. Uptown Motors sets the bar in customer service. Here's Uptown Motors third-generation operator, John Pentler. John, tell us about Uptown.
We're a firm believer that business and customers can get along and do things in a mutual way here. I mean, what's good for our customers is good for our dealership. And what we really thrive on is having people come back time and time again. And the only way to make that happen is to do business in a way that it's beneficial for both sides. You know, the deal has to be right, the car has to be right. And you know what? In some cases, you come to a dealership and you have the fear that you're going to be talked into too much car, things that you don't need. And you know, really, what we look at is finding a mutual beneficial way to move forward on a car deal.
Buy a new or used car from Uptown and they'll donate $200 to the parish of your choice. This is not a gimmick, it's who they are. Stop in and see what customer service is all about. Uptown Motors, Catholic owned, Catholic proud. RelevantRadio.com, keyword Uptown.
We are back with the Nazareth Project on Relevant Radio and your host, Lydia Lococo.
Welcome back to the Nazareth Project, Faith, Marriage, and Family Talk for the Everyday Catholic. Time for our community bulletin board and our mailbag. Thanks for sending me those questions. You can email me at nazarethproject@archmill.org. I am going to whip through these upcoming events. I want to make sure they're on your calendar. Encounter Young Adult Conference, Saturday, November 8th at the Cousin Center. Go to arisemissions.org. October 25th, Saturday, Mount Mary, CatholicSchoolsWalk.org. It's the Souls for Catholic Education Walk. I'm going to be there. I want to see you. And Women of Christ, November 1st. Come meet the new director of the Nazareth Project on Saturday, November 1st, Washington County Pavilion. Register at womenofchrist.net. That's it for our mailbag. And now it's time for what really matters. You cannot give what you do not have. But God has a plan for us, and He wants you to be exactly where He has put you. He will give us the grace to accomplish all that He wants of us. We have His promise. We have His grace. So I'll leave you with one last Latin quotation. Nunc caepi. And so we begin. Thanks for joining us today on the Nazareth Project, Faith, Marriage, and Family Talk for the Everyday Catholic. Stay in touch with us on Facebook, Twitter, and on our website, thenazarethproject.com. Coming up next week, come meet on air the new director of the Nazareth Project, Susan McNeil. Can't wait to introduce you to her. Thanks for chatting this morning. I'm Lydia Lococo. We'll talk to you next Friday. God bless your day.
You've been listening to the Nazareth Project on Relevant Radio. Tune in next Friday morning at 9 for more faith, marriage, and family talk with Lydia. And for more information about today's guests and topics, visit thenazarethproject.com.